What is up, you amazing people? It is I, Nima, and today we're gonna go through part 3, but it'll probably pop up as part 2 of Mario RPG, Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars. And here's the thing: this has been done, I don't know, 3 times now, and the way that I had to record it, I ended up recording both audio and video at the same time. Well, for some reason, audio didn't stick. I have no idea why. I ended up doing another video, which was the one you're looking at now, and that's just part 3. There's a reason why this is sped up, and that's because I can't talk another 50 minutes, and so I have to match this video with this audio. Ultimately, in the last 2 days, in the last 24 hours, I've talked 2.5 hours on the same topic, the same thing, just as an update. This has become now more epic than it should be, and it's not. It's literally just hey, this is what I was doing over the weekend, and now it's this whole thing because of how many times I've recorded this. I have no idea why it would not record and upload the way it should. It's funny because I did sound checks. They worked fine. I did all these things. They're fine. Audio is fine. I could hear me. Then when I actually did the long form let's play through Super Mario RPG, put the audio to it and everything, did the 40-50 minutes, no audio. I could tell because the length, the amount of memory that it needed was so small, and I'm like, "God, there's no audio in that." And of course there wasn't. So, yeah. Just to explain what maybe you guys may not be aware of and why the audio doesn't really probably match the video like it should, and why the video is probably sped up like crazy. And it's namely not because I don't love you, because I do love you, but my God, my voice is getting just like my brain, my voice has limitations, and I can't continue on talking for another hour or two, because I also have a review to get up today, and so that's the whole thing. But so, I wanted to just talk about what happened over the weekend. And some of you know, most of you don't, but I did get to play Rockstar, so to speak, and kind of go back into what I did prior to radio, actually, prior to my son being born, about 5-6 years ago. So, just so people know, I was a guitar player. I've been a guitar player since I was about 5 years old. It was the first thing I picked up doing. First thing I fell in love with. I fell in love with Green Day, Stevie Ray Vaughan, and Metallica. All at once. It's weird, yeah, right? Punk, blues, and metal. But that was just what I loved. And so I've been playing guitar for a very long time. And in my teens, early 20s, I was in a band. We were okay. We were more technically good than we were good songwriters. And that's the thing. That's always been what I've been able to, I could put pride in, is the fact that I was a technically good guitar player. Fast and do the solo-y stuff and whatever. But I'm not a great writer. I'll be honest. I can't write a great song. I can follow chord progressions, but whatever. Anyway, a friend called me last week, and he is in a good band. And he said, hey, check it out. We're playing Rocklahoma, which a lot of you may not know. It's a rock metal show done every year in Oklahoma. And he said, then the next night we have a showcase, which is usually when you do a show in front of record execs and stuff like that. And he said, we're doing that in Chicago. And then the next day we have this festival, this day fest in Omaha. And I was like, oh, that's cool, man. That's really awesome. And he proceeds to tell me, he said, the problem is I got the COVID really bad. And he said, in fact, I'm in the hospital right now. Oh my God. And the thing is, this was the third time he's had COVID, and we don't know why this was so much worse this time. And from here on, too, I'll just mention this. I'm not going to mention the band name. I'm not going to mention his name, and only because he's still sick, and the band had to take a break, because honestly, I couldn't keep going, and well, I refused to be honest, but Also, I just, I don't know what is going on, so I don't want to drag any of that in. That's all. But anyway, so he asked if I could fill in. And normally, this would be like a Herculean task for any musician to just fill in, 4 or 5 days in advance. But the thing is, I've helped him write a lot of these songs. I know the chord progression, and the thing is, he's a lead guitar player. And what you may not know is, as a lead guitar player, you're not the backbone, right? You add a lot of flourish, you override a lot of this stuff. So if you have a good idea of like musical theory and you know the chord progression, the rhythm, things like that, then you can kind of skate by without too much of a problem. And again, since I knew a lot of these songs, I was like, yeah, sure. I'm not going to learn the solos. I'm just going to improvise and follow theory like I know how to do. So that was no big deal. Again, I knew a lot of the songs, so that wasn't such a problem either. But this really did, I don't know, I learned a lot over the weekend, I'll put it that way. One of the big things I learned was that I'm too old for this, like 33, too old to be doing this stuff. I also have to admit, like, there was a part of me that I didn't really... I didn't think about the fact that, hey, for the last 2 years, you've been battling anxiety. And, not only that, we've had a pandemic. You really haven't been out very much. And it was interesting because it was like Wile E. Coyote when he's like chasing, the bird thing. And he just like runs off of the cliff and then looks down and is like, oh, crap. That's that same thing. Like Saturday night in Oklahoma, about halfway through the set, I looked down and realized, oh, there's nothing under me. I'm going straight down. That was my experience, honestly. And, I was fine for the rest of that show. The show in Chicago, not so great. I did a lot of just holding on to, like, certain notes and sustaining. Because I really didn't, I don't know, like I played the songs the day before, but this time I didn't have the rhythms. I was lost. It was hard to follow the chord progression. It was bad. Like Chicago was not good. Although I will say Chicago was my favorite place. I enjoyed the atmosphere. I enjoyed the city itself. Like Chicago was awesome, but, the actual show was horrible. And that's what's funny. Like Oklahoma being the same, the exact opposite. I did amazing, honestly. I felt like performing, but the actual like experience of being in Oklahoma, not so great. And no, it had nothing to do with like Oklahoma City or Oklahoma in any facet of it. It was actually just the festival and some of the people who attended this, and I'll get into that here in a second. And it was just like, though, it felt like me realizing what I'm doing made me go, oh, I'm not good at this. I have reason to not be as successful as I'm being right now. And that was that moment of like, I just walked off a cliff. And, it was interesting, like, just to experience that. But, so, my issues with Oklahoma, let me say this. There was so many leeches at this festival. Like, I'm used to being... I'm used to seeing a lot of leeches, it being people who want to sell you a shirt for $62 or, a soda for $8, whatever. Like that, okay, fine. We're used to that. What I wasn't used to is like political people and politicians and, essentially like Steve Buscemi walking around, hey, fellow kids, that whole thing, like, and they were so just gross. And, it was both sides, by the way. There'd be, hey, someone come walking next to you and be like, hey, how do you feel about women's rights? You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I don't care. Like, right now, like, I'm down for women's rights. Don't get me wrong. But it's 180 degrees. My genitals are stuck to my leg. My ears are being just tortured by like loud screeching music and people yelling. This is not the time to have the conversation, but the thing is they didn't want to have the conversation, and that's what was really annoying to me. What they wanted was your email address and donation. And, it wouldn't matter who it was, because we ran into like 4 or 5 different people, and all with a different spiel, but it was the same format. And it was like, hey, we're losing our rights here in America. Okay, well, I'm walking around a festival in a Spawn Wave shirt, a Yoshi socks, sweatpants, and, Nike slides. But yeah, okay, tell me that we're losing our rights. Like, come on, man. Like, we're in America. Like, I don't know, I'm drinking a beer at 2 p.m. on a Saturday. I think I'm good. Like, I don't know. The point is, though, again, didn't want to have the conversations, didn't want to get into anything like, oh, here's how we solve things. No, just give me $25 and let me sell your information. That was pretty much the whole thing. And I actually looked at the fine print on all of these things, and it was this. It was, hey, you're signing up for a monthly donation. Like, not just a once, give it a go kind of, hey, we're going to kick in to help. No, you're signing in for $25 every month on your credit card for these, disgusting politicians. That was what really pissed me off, honestly. Like, above all, like, you want to charge me $10 for a Dr. Pepper? Fine, I get it. But you're going to, like, leech this money off these kids? Ah, come on. That's just gross. It was disgusting. And, like, it's just one of those things where it's like, why do politics got to be involved here? This is why we don't care as much anymore. This is why we're disgusted by all of them. Because the thing is, like, none of them are going to fix anything. None of them are different than the other ones, and we know that. We don't care if it's left, right, rather it's Joe Biden, Donald Trump, they're all the same guy. And it's the guy that wants to take your money and campaign on that. Like, I had this conversation with one of the guys. I was like, you say, like, oh, we're going to fix things and things are going to get better. But even when you have a supermajority, nothing gets fixed and you just want more of our money. And you purposely set up a straw man who isn't going to let things happen. You do that on purpose so that you can campaign on that and then you can take more money. We know this. We're not dumb. And I don't know. It just, through all that, that's what really irritated me. And everything else was fine, honestly. The entire show past that, and dealing with everyone else, dealing with some of, like, the fans and the chaoticness, it was cool. Again, it made me realize, like, this is not me anymore. Like, one of the funny things is, we're backstage and everyone's kind of unloading their stuff or going through their stuff, and it was like, I popped out my old man pill dispenser, which, if you're not aware of this, is like a segmented pill container. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you put all your pills in it. And everyone at first, a lot of the guys were like, "Oh, you're gonna party, huh?" I was like, no, man. This is allergy, this is anxiety medicine. Like, this is, and not the good, like, fun anxiety medicine. This is the daily, not going to, not a benzo crash kind of, anxiety medicine. And it was just funny because, just opposed to that, there was, some of these other kids walking around with, like, oxys and all sorts of other kind of pills, and like, yeah, I'm the old man here, like, this is, there's that, Rainn Wilson movie where he was the drummer of a band. I can't remember what it was, but, yeah, it just kind of reminded me of that. Like, and honestly, by the way, I felt that too, because the people who were, like, drinking and doing, the illicit things and, random hookups and all that, they were, like, the people who are, like, my age, honestly. The kids are serious about this stuff. Like, the kids and the younger people that I ran into, musician-wise, number one, incredibly talented. I think in the next decade, we're going to see this, like, I don't know, renaissance of music, because these kids are incredibly talented. They absolutely adore, like a lot of the guitar players. Number one, interesting to me, and a number of female young guitar players, which I thought was really cool. But, like, their respect for, like, the Scorpions or Van Halen and all these other, like, they're shredding Metallica And I'm like, what? This never existed when I played. Like, I was one of the few people who could, like, just shred and tear things apart. In these kind of festivals, don't get me wrong, like, yes, there's always been, like, Avenged Sevenfold and Trivium and just insane guitar players, but in this area, and the other aspect is, a lot of them didn't even show it. Like, they could do it, and they enjoyed it, and they had these strict agendas of practicing, of music theory, of all this stuff, but when they get on stage, it would be like experimental rock, and it's like, you have this ability, why aren't you doing that? And, just not what I want to do, which is interesting. But yeah, I think musicianship is just another level. It's like so advanced now, and honestly, I applaud like the younger kids for that, because in my day, it wasn't there. And like I said, like the guys who are like my age in their early to mid 30s, it's basically their schedule was, all right, well, I'm gonna wake up whenever, probably have me a Bloody Mary, then later on have a greasy cheeseburger. Have a few drinks after that. Maybe, smoke a little. We'll see. Try to hook up with a random woman, and then drink some more and pass out. Like, that was their schedule. As were these kids, it was like, wake up at 8:30 a.m., exercise, eat a proper breakfast, do, exercises. And when I say exercise, I mean, like, palm finger, that kind of exercise, your joint exercises to loosen up. Then do an hour or two of like theory, do your arpeggios, do your scales. Like, they're legit professionals, even though they're not getting paid like professionals. And I don't know, I had a lot of respect for that. I thought that was really cool. But yeah, so I also have to say, so yeah, like, Oklahoma, weird. Chicago, awesome. I love Chicago because we played in like this hole in the wall, and it was dark and smoky and dirty. And there's something beautiful about that. I gotta be honest. Like, I just love that experience of being in that environment. It's very reminiscent of like an old blues club or something, something I can kind of fantasize about. Something I could have done in a past life or something, where you're drinking like rock gut, whiskey, and people are smoking rolled cigarettes, and you're performing for 50 cents a night. I don't know. Like, it's like BB King. There's something I romanticize about that, and so that was cool. Like, I enjoyed being somewhere I've never been. I've never been to Chicago. Enjoyed the hell out of Chicago. I liked every aspect of it, but except for one, and I'll get to that here in a second. And it's the same issue with Oklahoma, by the way. But I sucked. Like my performance in Chicago was awful. I literally I danced around the scale and the key that we were in, and then like I just sustained, which means I just held a note. Like, if you attended the show, didn't know the music, you wouldn't really. It wouldn't really shock you, but if you heard the music before, you'd be like, there's something missing. Like, it doesn't sound whole right now. And, that's definitely on me. But when we didn't meet the record execs, I did explain everything, and they'd already known. And, it was like, oh yeah, we're not judging you, because you are old and, you suck, and, you haven't been on stage in 5 years. So, there's that. But, the other thing, so skipping ahead a little bit, we were going last place, Omaha. My family decided they were going to meet me in Omaha. And they were like, hey, you're supposed to be off stage by like, 1, 2 o'clock. Then we can go to the zoo. Because let me tell you something. After you've been just in hot, horrible, crappy places for the last like 4 days, you want to walk around like one of the biggest zoos in America. Like, that's what you want to do. Well, honestly, no. But it didn't matter, because my family was going to meet me up there, and that's what we were doing. We were going to the goddamn zoo. And so the show itself was fine. At this point, it had become mechanical. You know what I'm saying? Like, I did a lot of practicing in between, like on our little voyage between Chicago and Omaha. So I was fine. But it was it was the afterwards, because again, by the way, we only played for like 15, 20 minutes. It was nothing in Omaha, and that was cool. That was fine. Got off, and then there's of course the wife and the kids, and all right, let's go to the zoo. Like, I just immediately go from like being on stage and this whole like persona to, all right, I'm back to being like Homer Simpson. Like it. It was eye opening, and it made me realize like I don't really, I don't know. It sucked to do both. No, it really did though. Like the zoo was awful. I'm not a zoo person, and yes, I'm one of those people. Like, I think it's messed up to, like, stare at animals all the time. Like, I don't know, I just feel like if somebody grabbed you, put you in this, like, cage, and yeah, maybe it could be, like, your perfect world, but they're still gonna just sit there and watch you. Like, wouldn't you feel weird about that? And, when we look at the differences between, like, chimpanzees and humans, it's not major. Like, they know we're there, so it's gotta be like a life unlike any other. I don't know, like, how would you feel about just laying on the couch, scratching yourself, watching, America's Dumbest Dumber, and like people watching you? I don't know, like, it's just weird. I don't know, but anyway, it was more than that, because there was like nothing. Like, it was so packed, you couldn't see anything. It was like walking for an hour to one destination, barely seeing anything because it's so packed, and then walking out. And then doing that over and over again. Like, barely saw any animals, which honestly was kind of fine with me. But the thing that wasn't fine was being hot. And this is my whole thing. The entire weekend, it can be wrapped up in two things. Number one, no internet. And that was ultimately why I wanted to make this video. Just because if anyone follows me, or I follow them on Twitter or Instagram or any of that, I have been silent for like 5 days. And that's why. I haven't released a video in like 5 days. And this is why. I've been gone, and I've had like very unstable internet. Even in Chicago. Like, even in Omaha, which Omaha, yeah, no, it's still a big freaking city. Like, but no, horrible internet. I don't know why. I've got a good phone company. I've got a lot of, things, but nothing was stable. It would be like, I'd be on Twitter or YouTube, and it would just be like, I don't know, 5 minutes of working, and then 5 minutes, 10 minutes of not working. So I got used to just putting my phone away and not even messing with anything, which in some ways was nice. It really was. But then the other aspect of the weekend was hot. I felt sweaty and sticky and gross for like 5 days straight. And I took showers. I had clean clothes. I'm not some gross little thing. But, I don't know. Like, it just got to me. And I felt hot. And everywhere we stayed, by the way, had air conditioning. It's just enough people. Beds were horrible. That whole thing. Like, I don't know. It made me think, like, either I gotta, like, change my ways a little bit, or I'm just not made for this anymore. And I mean, the thing is like, I'm fairly in good shape. Like, I'm in decent shape for like the average American. Well, I'm probably better than the average American, to be honest. But like, I'm in good shape. Like, you wouldn't think of me having health problems, but my God, the heat, just everything. Like, I was just sweaty and gross the entire time. The zoo definitely didn't help that. And ultimately, the other big thing, my back. My God. Here's the thing. Being on stage, doing like the moving around, that, headbanging, walking around these like festivals, and, barely sitting for 4 days, that was fine. It was the beds. It was the beds at the hotels that like killed me. Like, everything else was fine. And I wake up after, sleeping on some stiff bed, and like now, like, my shoulders hurt. I had an experience earlier today where like my pinkies got a little bit numb. Like, I had to like move and put my shoulders in a better position for that, feeling to come back. My lower back is killing. My upper back is killing me. Like, I don't. It was the beds. The hotel beds screwed me up more than anything else. I finally, within the last 24 hours, don't feel disgusting anymore, even though I've showered umpteen times. It's all of that. Like, and that was the thing about this whole thing. It made me realize I could not do this anymore. And yeah, there's part of me that has thought, like, I quit a lot of that because of my son, right? And I felt like, I wonder if I could be. I wonder if I could have, parlayed that into something more. Even being just a band, like a road band, like a Seven Dust or a band like that who makes a decent living on the road. And you probably never heard of them, but they don't have to work a 9 to 5. They don't have to worry about a lot of stuff. I wonder how that would be. And, it's enough to, like, me discover, like, I couldn't have done it anyway, and I wouldn't want to do it. I think that's a big part of it, is I wouldn't want to do it. I'm so, I don't know, I'm such a house cat now. Like, I just enjoy what I have, my environment, and so it was kind of cool to be able to experience that, just to be able to close that chapter, so to speak, and realize, like, this is not for me, and it's for so many other reasons other than what initially it was, which I think is kind of crazy because when I first started doing this, the idea of being out traveling, like, all that sounds amazing. And, like, oh man, I romanticized the hell out of that. And now that I'm older, I'm like, no, that's horrible. I want to be at home on my couch, which has my butt imprint on it, my back imprint on it. I won't, tear myself apart trying to lay on some weird bed. I'm not going to have sweaty genitals, and yeah, that's what I want, but it's crazy, honestly. And I had a good time. Honestly, I really did. It was fun. I learned some lessons. I learned how much to appreciate what I have here, and not to fantasize so much about being a rock star, which I don't. But just thinking about it, But one last thing I want to talk about: video game hunting. I apparently discovered one thing, and this is when I had my free time. I would go to, like, pawn shops or, like, ma and pa shops looking for video games. Like, that honestly what became, like, probably the most important thing to me really early on was I want to find, like, indie games and games I've never seen or heard of before. And, I can kind of do this. Like, Chicago's got to have a ton of cool stuff, right? Not really. My small little town, like, local mom and pop shop, Game On, it's got more than most. And I say this because I really didn't find very much. Oklahoma had about nothing. And to be fair, when we got there, it was pretty late. It was hard to find anywhere open. And when we left, it was pretty early. But Chicago, on the other hand, we got there in plenty of time to check out a lot of local shops and everything. And I didn't find anything for the Switch. And I found a ton of, like, retro games and cool stuff like that. Like, I saw Earthbound in the box, that, like, classic Earthbound box. I found a ton of, like, Sega Genesis games, like, in box, Super Nintendo games in box. A lot of cool stuff like that. But you reached to about the 360 and they just stopped carrying anything. Like, so many of the stores were like that. They didn't have anything new, and what they did have new was just, like, it was the AAA titles. It was the ones you expect everyone to have. I found Mark of Death, I think is the name of it, Call of Cthulhu, and Minecraft Dungeons, the complete edition, and those are the games I bought. And honestly, I bought Minecraft Dungeons' complete edition because my son really likes playing that game, and we've been looking at all of the DLC, and I'm like, I'd just rather prefer buying the whole thing all at once. And so that was why I bought that. Call of Cthulhu, I've heard of it so much, and I've heard it's gotten, I don't know, it's kind of looked cool to me at times. And the fact that it was a solid, I think, like $15, fine. And Mark of Death I bought that because I've never heard of the game before. And that was it. Like, it was crazy. Like, how, I don't know, like, just the horrible selection they had. And then, of course, I get back in town after spending a ton of money and being out and whatever. And my local guy, he's got a ton of awesome indie games. And that's like, damn you. Like, I should have. There again, I learned things are better here at home than they are out on the road. Anyway, guys, that's it from me. I've got to get ready for a review that I'm doing for Skycadia. Anyway, guys, like always, I'm wishing you health, wealth, and above all, I hope you're truly happy because you guys make me happy. Take care, everyone. Bye bye.